Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tashi. I'm a senior PM at Microsoft. On this channel, I try to share all of my learnings to help you grow as a professional. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe. I post every Thursday and Sunday. Today, we're doing a book review. It is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. What's crazy is this book released in 1936. And I went back and I was just like, what was even life like in 1936? Well, I didn't go back, but I looked up stuff online. So pretty crazy just to show how different life was back then. So the Great Depression was still going on. The Dust Bowl was in its last year and still happening. The 1936 Olympics were taking place in Berlin, Germany. This is Nazi Germany. Jesse Owens went there and won 4 gold medals. The US rowing team also won the gold medal there. And there's a book about it called Boys in the Boat. I might do a review on that later. Insane book. It was actually recommended by Satya, the CEO of Microsoft, when he first joined the company, or became the CEO, I should say. And FDR was elected to his second term. So really an old school book. The title is weird. It's like it's off-putting. It makes you feel like, well, I'm not a manipulative person. This is weird. Look past the title of the book. A lot of the lessons still hold true. When you read this, there's gonna be some stuff that you're gonna be like, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know how it applies. Use your best judgment. Overlook the stuff that doesn't quite apply, but there are so many nuggets of wisdom in here. You can see how many things I've highlighted and left page flags for. So I'm gonna give you the top 3 things that I've learned from this book and carried forward, and how they've helped me in my career, so that hopefully they can help you as well. Let's jump in. First, I wanna start off talking about my personal story at work and some of the relationships that I've had, since really this is a book about relationships with people. Early on, I thought I was like hot shit. I thought I knew everything about Halo. I thought I knew what was right. I thought I knew about the problems that people were facing and how they could just solve them. And I was so wrong. And along the way, honestly, burned a lot of bridges and didn't form good relationships with people in the studio. I wasn't really listening to what they wanted. I was like, oh, well, this just has to happen this way, and your way doesn't really make any sense. And I wasn't really using a lot of kind of tact when talking to people. So it took a number of years for me to really kind of learn, and I had to be coached by my manager. It took a while for me to realize hey, the relationships you have with the people around you is ultimately what's going to help you achieve your goals and accomplish the mission and deliver the best product and experience to fans and players. It wasn't until that really clicked, in part with learnings from this book, that kind of helped me get to the next level in my career and ultimately become a manager, where you have to deal with people all the time as part of your job, is to take care of the people on your team. So let's jump in with the kind of 3 learnings that I took away from this book. So the first one, I'll read a quote from it. Again, this is kind of old school, so bear with me. He talks about going fishing in Maine during the summer and how he's personally fond of strawberries and cream. He said, but for some strange reason, fish prefer worms. So he said, when I went fishing, I didn't think about what I wanted. I thought about what they wanted. I didn't bait the hook with strawberries and cream. Rather, I dangled a worm or a grasshopper in front of the fish and said, wouldn't you like to have some of that? Why not use the same common sense when fishing for people? So fishing for people is really weird. The kind of main takeaway that I have from there is really thinking about what's most important to the people that you're talking to. Really, when you're working, especially in a corporate environment, almost every conversation you have, you're negotiating, right? Because ultimately they have their own things that are important to them. And I don't even mean on a personal level, but also professionally. Their manager has given them certain tasks to go do. They need to make sure they complete those tasks. And so when you go to them trying to really negotiate and say, hey, can you do this for me? Or can you do this differently? Or whatever it might be, you have to consider the other person's perspective, where they're at in whatever work project they're on, or all of the other different experiences that they've had. So you have to think about, if I want to get something from this person, whether it's their time, advice, support in something, whatever it might be, you have to be considerate of what they're trying to accomplish and what they want. For example, if they're looking to let's say finish a project on time, and your project that you want them to help with can be done later, that's something you'll have to consider. If you go at them and say, hey, I really want it done this week, in their minds, they're like, I have to get my project done this week, so I can't take on your work to support there. Being able to understand that and flex on that time is a really important part of the whole process, and say, you know what, hey, I know you're working on this thing and you really want to nail that and crush it this week. I'm not going to bother you. I'll bother you after that you're done and you have more time to help me with my thing. They're going to be very receiving of that. They're going to say, okay, this person is considerate of my needs and what I'm trying to accomplish. They're considering of my timeline and my workload and what's most important to me. And, they're appealing to the things that I want to do as well. So that's the first tip that I took from this book, and I use this all the time at work. Another tip from this book that I really love, I'll read a quote here. It's on page 142. Dale says, "When we are right, let's try to win people gently and tactfully to our way of thinking, and we are wrong, and that will be surprisingly often. We are honest with ourselves. Let's admit our mistakes quickly and with enthusiasm." This is a really great lesson, and I totally agree here. When you're working with people, trying to get one over other people and say, "Ha, I told you so," that is the best way to burn bridges and to not have these people be enthusiastic about supporting your cause or whatever it might be. Don't make people feel bad about mistakes that they've made or things that, they had a differing or wrong opinion on, or, whatever it is, they just got something wrong. That is like the worst thing that you can do. So when he says win gently, people are going to be, crap, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Hey, it's all good. Don't sweat it. We can move on in this and that way. That is super important. It helps build trust between you and these other people so that they can continue to share maybe when things go wrong, or they know, hey, I can talk to Tashi. It's a safe space. I can share. He's not going to beat me down for, making a mistake or whatever it might be. That is really important. On the flip side, if you make a mistake, being quick to admit that and take accountability and ownership is also a hugely important thing. Because if you think about it from the other person's perspective, in their minds, they're like, hey, Tashi fucked up. So we need to figure out how to get to the bottom of this. And it really makes them potentially uneasy about having that conversation where they have to prove me wrong. If I come out and say, you know what, I messed up, that's on me, I'm sorry, here's what I did wrong, here's how I'm thinking about here's how I'm thinking about it going forward, it totally diffuses the situation. And now it makes them much more willing to trust you, work with you, have more open conversations with you, be more transparent about how they're feeling about things, and again, know that it's a safe space for all these things. And it's really just healthy for your ego, honestly. Like, if you walk around thinking you know everything and you can never be wrong, or if the things that go wrong are never your fault, like, that is also a really great way to just build awful relationships around you and basically build this bubble around you where learnings and insights and other perspectives will never reach you, and you just become this like giant ego machine. So admitting your mistakes is in front of people and to people directly is a really great way to build stronger relationships. The next tip and the final one is on page 190. I'll read the quote. The context is that there's some discrepancy with a customer that this shop owner, Mr. Thomas, is having. So he says, "Experience has taught me, Mr. Thomas, that when no information can be secured about the customer, the only basis on which to proceed is to assume that he or she is sincere, honest, truthful, and willing and anxious to pay the charges once convinced they are correct." Kind of to boil this down, and this is a big part of like culture at Microsoft, assume best intent, regardless of whether it's with customers, like in the example here, or coworkers or managers, anybody, directors, whoever it might be. Assume best intent. If you assume best intent, it allows you to have way more easy conversations with everybody around you. It allows you to focus on what the core issue that you're trying to have is, instead of undermining and eroding the foundation of conversation that you're having with this other person. If you and I are, let's say, in a one-on-one conversation where whatever, we're negotiating about something, if I automatically assume that like you're out to get me or you're doing this for nefarious reasons or whatever it might be, even if you think that, or have evidence of this person not treating you 100% right, whatever it might be, there's no way you're going to be able to build a strong relationship and also product or whatever it might be, completing a task, process. There's no way you're going to build a strong thing on top of that without that foundation of assuming best intent. And the same goes for when someone is coming down on you, or you have a customer, grilling you about something, whatever it might be. Even people on Twitter, right? I get so many tweets. People are upset. Tashi, you effing this. You suck at this. You should lose your job. Whatever. I always assume best intent. These people are just trying to enjoy our game and play it to the best of their ability. Sure, they might think that I'm awful at my job, but I also know they don't have context for anything. And ultimately what they want is to enjoy the experience that they are, paying for or trying to, support. I just assume best intent. And I don't think about all of the nasty stuff that potentially could be happening. And again, it just allows you to move forward in a way more healthy way, especially in office politics or a lot of the bureaucracy or drama that can happen in an office place. If everyone just assumed best intent, I think a lot of this would be a lot healthier. I think a lot of work would get done better. I think there'd be stronger relationships built. You'd have a way stronger culture as a team, as a studio, as a company, whatever it might be. Assuming best intent, really in my mind, a foundation and a pillar of how you work with people. So that is kind of the third takeaway that I would have from this book. So that's gonna do it. Those are the three main things that I wanted to share today. Again, the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Hope you guys picked this up and enjoy it. I bet you can get it at a used bookstore for $5 or something like that, or even cheaper. Maybe there's an Audible version, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.